Hey everybody, who's your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking Avengers Confidential, Punisher, and Black Widow. And as you can see, we're taking a stab at recording outside today just to see how it goes. Anyway, this is one of those movies that Marvel made in collaboration with the Japanese anime studio Madhouse, who of course have a very venerable reputation with their own series, as well as having done all those other Marvel animes, which certainly looked pretty, but the writing on them tended to vary quite a bit. But anyway, getting into this particular movie, in general, what we're going to do first is I'm going to give you my general impressions of the movie, and then we're going to get into some more detailed stuff that could probably be considered spoilers. So let's talk about the basics first, and since I brought up Madhouse, I'd have to say that visually the movie looks really nice. It's definitely what we've come to expect from the Marvel anime series. Now, that's not going to go over well with particularly everybody, but basically, in terms of visuals, I really can't think of anything that is a real mark against this movie, except for the fact that there's definitely more than a few moments where the camera seems to spend more time than is really necessary, or is angled in such a way that it tends to either really focus a lot on Black Widow's ass, or just the fact that I'm a guy, and I really do hate it in comics and in stuff like that, where even I can look at that and go, and you know what? I'm pretty sure gravity would not allow a woman's breasts to be hanging in such a fashion under these particular circumstances, and that's a repeated problem in this movie, and that just really does bother me. I mean, Black Widow is really supposed to be kind of one of the two main stars of this movie, and I think she deserves a little bit better than that. But anyway, in terms of the visuals, that's all that I've really got to say there. Actually, the music, I really wasn't terribly impressed by the music in this. It just didn't really stand out to me, and there were a few instances where what they were playing just didn't really seem like a good fit for what was going on, but that's a fairly minor complaint. Now, this story was the actual script for it was one of the folks over at Studio Madhouse in Japan, a Japanese guy whose name I don't recall, but the basic core story of it was by Marjorie Liu, who is an experienced comic book writer. She's done work with, well, I can't remember. I'm sure she's done work with Marvel before, and I think she might have done some stuff with DC. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Marjorie Liu is an interesting person because she actually has a background in fantasy romance. Now, probably not a surprise to you that I haven't read anything of hers in that vein. But by coincidence, I did happen to see a comic book adaptation of one of her stories at a library in my area. So I did read at least the description on the back simply because I recognized her name. And, well, it didn't really sound like a bad story, but it definitely sounded like something that really wouldn't be up my alley. But then, well, to be frank about it, I'm a guy, so sitting around reading romance novels is not really my idea of a good time. In fact, I think it's much more enjoyable to actually go through the romance section of bookstores and look at the titles of various romance novels and try not to laugh. I mean, and seriously, I do occasionally do that, and it's hard not to laugh when you see books with titles like Italian Boss, Proud Miss Prim, and For the Sheik's Pleasure. And I am not kidding you, those are names of actual books that I have seen. So, yeah. But anyway, getting back to this movie. The reason I bring up the whole romance novelist thing is that in this movie there's a romantic subplot going on with Natasha. Thankfully not with the Punisher. Oddly enough, the Punisher, if you read the comics, has a bit of a thing going on with Elektra. And they definitely, and this is actually confirmed in the Thunderbolt series that has Punisher and Elektra in it, that the two of them are cool with having some NSA fun together. And I'm not talking about the National Security Agency. No strings attached for those of you who aren't familiar with that particular term. So yeah, here is the character. I don't want to spoil who it is in this part of the movie, but there's this part where, in the middle of everything is going on, Natasha and this character are having this conversation about, well, basically their relationship. And it's some stuff like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you betrayed me," and like, "I did this for you, Natasha." I mean, okay, I don't really consider that a spoiler because But anyway, the problem with this is, it's like, really, you're in the middle of this enemy base, this base, and there's all this stuff going around you, and you're taking now to have this conversation about your relationship. Now, granted, under the circumstances, this isn't exactly something they could just go out and have a chat about at the local Starbucks, and making sure they understand where each other is on the side is important. But in the middle of what's supposed to be a spy and action espionage movie, this just seems ridiculous and just kills the pace in an absolutely painful way. And the thing is, this happens at least twice in the movie. They stop in the middle of everything to have this conversation about their relationship. And again, it's a, where do you stand with me or do you stand against me? But so it is important that they have this conversation. But again, it just feels like it just doesn't feel right in terms of pacing and all this other stuff. Now, I can't fault Marjorie Liu for putting this in there. I mean, you see this sort of thing happen all the time in superhero comics. The problem is that in comics, well, you get through those things in just a couple of seconds because you read, you turn the page, you read, you turn the page. Here, when you're seeing the conversation in real time and it takes a couple of minutes, again, it just absolutely kills the pace. And while, okay, like Black Widow's romance life and balancing that and her actions as an awesome super spy, okay, again, that's par for the course with good Black Widow stories. But again, if I'm coming into something with something involving Punisher and Black Widow, I'm really not looking for a romance story. I'm looking to see the Punisher kill a lot of people and Black Widow beat the hell out of a lot of people and blow up some bad guy bases and all this other stuff. And honestly, I don't really get a huge amount of either of those. Now, granted, there's some cool action scenes and some fighting, and you definitely get to see the Punisher take out a few bad guys at the very beginning, but I basically just wanted a bigger body count for the Punisher, to be perfectly honest. I mean, come on, a Punisher anime. I mean, this should be something that's right up there with, if you're familiar with the very famous manga series Golgo 13. He's a character who shares some similarities to the Punisher in a way. And I was really going in there hoping for that. Just absolute crazy violence, huge body count. Maybe not, if you're familiar kind of with some old school stuff like Ninja Scroll, something along those lines, something like that. And I just don't get that. I mean, when they confront the big bad guy at the end, there's literally like 5 minutes between the time that he shows up and then like literally 5 minutes later the Punisher kills him. And it's not an established character from the Marvel Universe. It's some guy who just has a really generic name, an uninteresting costume. He gets to rant a little bit, and then the Punisher kills him. And he doesn't even have anything really interesting to say. It just basically amounts to might makes right. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I guess that kind of covers the more general stuff, so let's kind of get into the more detailed things. So from here on out, we're talking some spoilers. Now, the big romance thing going on with Natasha is with a character who's basically meant to be Red Guardian, although from what I've done some reading on this, apparently he takes a little bit of elements from the character of all characters in the Marvel Universe, Egghead. Yeah, I didn't even realize there was a character named Egghead in the Marvel Universe. I hear that name, I think Vincent Price on the 60s Batman show, playing the character of Egghead. And yeah, that really did happen. But anyway, so Now, Natasha's conflict with Red Guardian, from what I understand, is in keeping with stuff that did happen with in the comics, and so that's all well and good. But again, this, the romance angle here really just I don't think worked, especially when they already had the very contrasting philosophies of Black Widow and Punisher that they could have really put at the heart of the movie, and I think that would have been much better because I'm coming into this movie to see Punisher and Black Widow. I'm not coming in here to see Punisher dealing with her ex-boyfriend. I'm with Black Widow dealing with her ex-boyfriend. And of course, the philosophical argument here is that Shield is sort of playing the long game. Well, the Punisher is like, okay, well, while you're playing this long game, these bad guys that you're letting roam around and kind of do deals so that you can trace them back to the source and all this other stuff are hurting and killing innocent people. And I mean, how many innocent people are you going to kill before you decide to step in and really put these guys down for good? And that's the kind of one of the classic philosophical clashes that the Punisher has with um, various superheroes, or at least the superheroes who don't have a problem with sometimes killing people. Is that, or you can just basically even frame it in the way the Punisher contrasts in terms of just flat out relationship to Nick Fury. They've had an interesting relationship over the years, the Punisher and Nick Fury. And so that I mean that's how it is. Punisher sees Black Widow as somebody who's all into games and politics and is willing to let innocent people get in the crossfire so long as it furthers her end goals. And Black Widow just sort of sees Punisher as this sort of rabid, mad dog who kind of needs to have a leash slapped on him. So again, they have this interesting character conflict between the two main characters that they could have easily built the movie around. And while that does get touched on some, most of Black Widow's stuff is again dealing basically with her ex-boyfriend. Incidentally, I do want to mention that in the English version of it, Black Widow is voiced by Jennifer Carpenter, who's best known as Deborah Morgan over on Dexter. Now, Jennifer Carpenter is a really good actress, but as far as I know, this is her first step into voice acting, and she's just okay. I mean, there's times when she's doing a good job, and other times it's just like I'm pretty sure there should be a little bit more oomph going on here, Jennifer, because I'm really not feeling it. And voice acting is, of course, one of those things that I imagine some actors fall into very naturally, while others kind of need a little bit more practice. So, yeah, I mean, she does get better as the movie goes on, but I kind of have a feeling this is one of those ones where the director probably needed to step in a little bit more and find a way to get a little bit more energy out of her. Other folks who here are voiced by people who have more than a little bit of experience voicing them in other Marvel animation projects. Like Carrie Walgren comes back as Maria Hill. You have Troy Baker back as Hawkeye because hey, guess what? At the end of it, the Avengers show up to make a guest appearance, which is really cool because holy crap, it's anime version of the Avengers going around and beating ass, and it's pretty damn cool. Honestly, the only downside is they actually have Ms. Marvel, or I guess it's Captain Marvel, going by the costume, who never gets to say anything. It's like seriously, anime Ms. Marvel / Captain Marvel, and she doesn't even get any lines. Come on, because oh man, Ms. Marvel is so cool. I love Carol. But anyway. I should also mention there's some nice cameos at the end by some Marvel villains. They actually bring in the Griffin of all people and do some really nice stuff with him. Taskmaster shows up, and we only get to see a little bit of him, but it's pretty cool. Graviton gets to fight the Hulk. We even get to hear Hulk go, "Hulk hate Graviton," which was pretty cool. There's another guy who I think was Count Nefaria. And I was really pleased that they even got Baron Zemo in there. Baron Zemo's kind of just by virtue of having read so much of Thunderbolts back in the late '90s, he's a favorite of mine. But anyway, getting back to some other things with the movie. This being an anime series, being made by an anime studio, they can't really help but fall into some of the tropes that come with just being anime in general. It's sort of like particularly apparently like both Black Widow and Punisher have the ability to basically move so fast that it's essentially teleportation. And the ability that just doesn't really fit those sort of characters. I mean, it's not actually meant to be teleportation. It's just basically basically the Punisher and Black Widow are not ninjas from Naruto, is what I'm trying to say here. And one of the things they tend to do with the Punisher is that when they show him really pissed off, is they draw him with his eyes sort of whited out, and that's meant to basically show like the Punisher's version of Wolverine's berserker rage or something like that. Again, it's a visual thing, but it's not really something that thematically, I would say, goes well with the Punisher. Oh yeah, and Amadeus Cho shows up, which is pretty cool. He's a character I like. And okay, so we have Black Widow and Shield here, so big surprise, Nick Fury's around as well. And yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything that I had to say about this movie. At the end of the day, it's not bad, but it's not particularly great either. It's okay. And ultimately, what could have been something just absolutely awesome just comes out as something so-so. And what can I say, folks? I mean, I'm disappointed. There's just so much more this movie could have been. But anyway, I would, however, just based on the appearance by the Avengers at the end, I would absolutely be up for an anime Avengers movie. Maybe get Brian Michael Bendis or one of the other folks to go out there and make it, and just really, really do something big and crazy with it. That would be awesome. But if you're looking for anime Avengers, this they do have a great cameo appearance, brief guest starring appearance at the end, but this is probably not what you're looking for. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you this time. So until next time, take care and have a good one.